The 20th century British author Dodie Smith, who is known for her many stories for children, including the inspiration for the classic Disney movie 101 Dalmatians, is most famous for her quote describing a family as, quote, that dear octopus from whose tentacles we never quite escape, nor in our inmost hearts ever quite wish to. Perhaps this description illustrates Smith's personal feelings about belonging to a family. Yet, if the best image that one has for describing a family is some ferocious creature with many arms that looks to reach out and wrap its arms around our necks to strangle us, it is a wonder that any of us would willingly choose to be a member of a family at all. Churches and congregations, however, seem to be big fans of using family metaphors to describe their members. You would be hard pressed to walk into any church on any given Sunday and not hear the words church family mentioned at some point. On the surface, the idea of referring to church members as a family seems innocuous enough. It is natural to want to belong to a group of people, especially those who are taking part in the same experiences together. By painting the church as a family, it is an attempt to foster a sense of connection between individuals. No longer are we strangers who just happen to be in the same place at the same time. We're individuals who have a sense of connection to each other. By being connected, we care about one another, and we become a support system for each other, which makes the fact that we are together in the same place that much more profound. It is a metaphor that has the potential to evoke something that can be incredibly beautiful and truly meaningful for those who want to feel like they are not alone in this crazy world. But the family image has its limits. Families are one thing when it comes to taking care of those who are already considered to be part of the family in the first place. But imagine for a moment that you are someone new, someone from the outside who is not a part of the family to begin with, but is longing for that same sense of family. It is likely that those who are already members of the family are going to be skeptical of who you are, where you have come from, and why you have now decided to come in and become a part of this family in the first place. As much as we do not like to admit it, or want to admit it, we have all been there. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that this has happened with someone else who is a newcomer to our church family and is now wanting to join. Sure, we love it when people from outside the church come to visit. We are more than happy to roll out the red carpet and give them the enthusiastic welcome that we feel that they deserve. But when they decide to join, they start to volunteer and to serve on committees. The same committees that we have been serving on for months or even years, and start expressing opinions that are different from our own. How quickly, then, does that enthusiasm to welcome them in turn into resentment or frustration once they have arrived? This chain of events is all too familiar to us, especially as members of smaller congregations. Even if we have not experienced it firsthand, we've seen it happen in other congregations that we have been a part of. It is these kinds of attitudes that lead those whom we welcome in to not feel truly welcome once they arrive and join this idea of the family we have created. They may stay in for as long as they can, but eventually they will leave and go elsewhere if they feel marginalized enough. Not only does this attitude limit the ability of our churches to grow and become more inclusive, but it is also a pattern that has become so systemic after a while that by the time we sit down and try to make a conscious effort to become more inclusive, we have developed habits that are too deep-seated to break. For us as Unitarian Universalists, this is especially difficult because we are by definition a diverse group. We are made up of people of different ages, races, genders, and sexual orientations who have all had different life experiences and have diverse ways that we understand theology and spirituality. We come together every Sunday, in reality, every time that we come together, to form a beautiful, intentional community where we learn from each other to help us understand how we relate to who we are and where our place in the cosmos is. But in order for this to happen, we need to be open to not only welcoming people in, but allowing them to help our spaces grow and change and become something even more beautiful than they have been before. It is exactly this reason that has become the impetus for the Eighth Principle Project and the movement to adopt an added eighth principle that explicitly looks to dismantle racism and other oppressive behavior, be it conscious or otherwise. This comes in part from the experiences of Paula Cole Jones, a lifelong UU who has been working with congregations on issues of becoming more inclusive for over 15 years. What Cole Jones noticed as she traveled around to different UU churches across the country is something that many of us who have been longtime UUs have known for a while. Most UU congregations are mostly European American in membership, culture, and leadership, even when found next to diverse communities. She also came to realize that most UUs in these congregations, despite having the best of intentions, can follow the seven principles as faithfully as they can, but never end up thinking about or working to address racism and other oppressions at the systemic level. Indeed, if you look at the seven principles, they speak to large ideas like human relations, world community, and interdependent web of all existence, but none of the principles mentions racism or the need for racial equality by name. And for those who are not people of color and have not had those experiences, it is easy to never think about them because it does not affect them directly in their daily lives, which means that they will not do anything to get rid of the systems in place that allow racism and marginalization to happen. It is why Cole Jones and her co-collaborator Bruce Pollock Johnson from the UU Church of the Restoration in Philadelphia have suggested the inclusion of an eighth principle, which reads, "We covenant to affirm and promote journeying toward spiritual wellness by building a diverse and multicultural beloved community that accountably dismantles by our actions racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions." More specifically, Cole Jones supports the idea of shifting our focus away from the idea of seeing ourselves and the other people in our congregations as members of a family and more as a beloved community. Beloved community is defined as when people of diverse racial, ethnic, educational, class, gender, ability, and sexual orientations come together in an interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care that looks to realize justice within the community and in the broader world. This is important because it recognizes from the beginning that we are a diverse community, and we bring those things with us to come together and work together for a common goal that all of us hold as important. There is no concern with whether or not we fit into the idea of how the perceived church family should be. We belong as we are because of who we are, and those differences are what makes our community stronger. The other key piece is the idea of accountability. With the other seven principles, they call us to do things and aspire to lofty ideas, but there is no framework that decides whether or not we are achieving those goals. Accountability means that if we are saying that we are doing something to help dismantle racism in our congregations, we have to actually do what we are saying. It plays into the dynamic nature that was the original intent of the seven principles. They are things that we are called to do and things that we are called to practice and do better. Most importantly, the eighth principle would be the only one of the principles that mentions love by name. We often speak as UUs of doing things because they are the morally and ethically right things to do, but this would say that we are acting out of love for people both within and outside of our church communities. Acting out of love can be a powerful thing, and can ultimately create the deepest sense of connection of all. It is important for us as any kind of community to express a sense of love and to have that be a guiding force in the work that we are called to do. The idea of beloved community is a powerful image that has the potential to bring us together more than thinking of ourselves as a family. To be a family is to imply that we are one kind of people who all think and behave alike. But we as UUs know that this is the furthest thing from who we are. For many of us, it is the diversity of thought and belief that has drawn many of us to Unitarian Universalism, and it is why we have chosen to stay and make these churches our spiritual home. We need a way of being in this world that is better reflective of who we are and who we know we always have been. By doing this, it allows us not only to grow and become inclusive spaces, but we can envision for the future what is possible, what we can be that we have never been before. And that kind of thinking is one that can make all of the difference in the world. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.